Hi, in this video we'd like to make out the rules of the game My Happy Farm. Game setting takes just a few minutes. Deck of feeding cards is shuffled, 6 cards are laid out in the middle of the table. Deck of seed cards is shuffled too, and 6 cards are also laid out in the middle of the table. Money forms the bank. Each player receives 2 random seed cards, 2 coins, the playing field, and a set of animal cards, 4 animals for each player. Turn of each player is divided into 2 phases. The first is crop growing, the second is actions performing. Crop grows. If at the beginning of the turn player has cards on the season markers, they move forward. And only after this the player performs his actions. If at the beginning of the turn player has no cards on the season's markers, he skips the phase of crop growing. Further, in his turn, even after planting the seeds, the player can declare that his seeds grow in this turn. During their turn, each player can perform 2 actions out of 6. Buying seeds. Seeds are purchased in the market for 1 coin each card. They are bought one by one. After buying 1 card, the player reveals the next card, and only then he can buy the card which has come into play. If players don't like the cards that are revealed, they can buy the upper card from the deck, or 2 cards, or even all 3 cards. However, buying seed cards, players must watch the card's number in the hand. The player mustn't have more than 6 cards in the hand. If it happens that all cards in the market are the same, they must be discarded immediately, and new 6 cards are revealed. Apparently, these seeds are not currently on demand. If a deck of seed cards is over, shuffle the discard pile and form a new deck. Seed planting. During his turn, player can plant 1 or 2 seed cards. Cards should be planted in such a way the other players see what grows in his field. But the player can also plant 3 cards at once if these cards are the same. Harvest crop. If after the phase of crop growing the player has cards on the summer or fall markers, he can harvest crop, and cards are moved to the barn. The player can't harvest crop from both seasons at once, even considering the fact that both crops are fully ripened. If the player fails to gather the harvest in this turn from the autumn marker, in the next turn during the crop growing phase, those cards will be discarded. The barn can't contain more than 6 seed cards at a time. Therefore, in this case, the player must decide to have the entire crop, but to discard 1 card from the barn, or to harvest just a part of the crop. Also, the part of the harvest can be gathered from the summer marker. For example, carrot is already ripened but the wheat isn't yet, so you can harvest just the carrot and to leave the wheat to grow until the next turn. Animals feeding. Having feeding cards into the barn, the player can discard them and in such a way to feed the animals. For example, in this case discarding carrots, clover and wheat, the player can feed the rabbit. From the beginning of the game, all the animals are hungry and sad. After the first feeding, the animal's head is turned over. And now the animal is funny and long and brings some victory points. After this, a new feeding card is opened, and if the player has enough food, he can feed several animals at the same time, even using just revealed cards. Some pigs' feeding cards have such marker. It means any card from your barn. If at the end of the game any animal will remain unfed, the player will have to subtract his victory points, 5 points for each unfed animal. Food selling. Having cards in the barn, the player may discard any number of the cards and get indicated number of coins from the bank. Taking money from the bank. If the player doesn't want or can't sell anything, he can get 1 coin from the bank. End of the game. The game ends when after the one player's feeding there is no possibility to add a new feeding card, because the deck is over. Each player makes one more turn. After this, the scoring phase starts. Scoring. Players count up victory points indicated on the feeding cards. Each unfed animal subtracts 5 victory points, and besides, bonus victory points are also awarded. Each animal which received more feeding cards than the same animal of other players brings 3 victory points. For example, the cow of this player has got more feeding cards, and the pig has more feeding cards. The opponent has also 2 animals. Rabbit and sheep have more feeding cards. Each player receives 6 additional victory points. The player with the biggest number of victory points wins the game. That's all. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Goodbye.